morning, boys and girls. How are you all? I hope you're all doing well. Well, today is a very rainy day, but never mind. We're going to do our collective worship this morning and look at hope, our value, our Christian value. And today we're going to look at, or we're going to think about how we cope when we find ourselves in a difficult situation, and about how important it is to always have hope and not to give up. Do you remember last week we told the little story about the frogs? Well, this is about somebody who is real. It's a real story about someone who didn't give up hope. And we're going to look we're going to think about, sometimes things don't always go the way we'd like them to, don't they? And sometimes it's really hard to know what to do when things go wrong. So, this morning we're going to look in the Bible, and we're going to explore a story about a young girl called Esther, who found herself in some very difficult situations. And the story of Esther was considered so important that it appears in the Old Testament part of the Bible, and it's the 17th book of the Old Testament, and it's named after her, Esther. See, I've got my Bible here, and as you can see, there we go, look, Esther. And it's all about Esther, all about how and what happened to Esther, and that's just an artist's impression of what Esther might look like. So Esther can be found in Esther, and we're looking at those chapters of her life that show us about hope. So this is how Esther coped with difficult situations that she faced. You see, Esther didn't have an easy start in life. Her parents had both died when she was young, and she was brought up by her uncle, a man called Mordecai. However, Esther didn't lose hope, because Mordecai was a kind man and he looked after her well. Esther may have had many hopes and dreams for her future, but she probably never dreamt that one day she would become the wife of the king of Persia. However, this is exactly what happened. Esther was beautiful and the king loved her very much, but Esther didn't tell him that she was Jewish. Esther lived in the king's palace, and Mordecai carried on doing good things, including saving the king's life on one occasion. At this time, the king had a prime minister called Haman, who was a cruel and unpleasant man. He hatched a plan to encourage the king to kill all of the Jewish people in the land. Esther was scared. When she heard about the plot, she asked Uncle Mordecai what to do. He told Esther to go to the king and ask for help. Uncle Mordecai pointed out that maybe God had put her in exactly the right place to be able to help in this situation. Esther was frightened, but she didn't give up hope. Esther knew that she needed to do everything the right way, so she organised 2 banquets and invited the king and Haman to both of them. Meanwhile, Haman had been getting increasingly frustrated with Mordecai and was planning to speak to the king about getting rid of him. However, to Haman's disappointment, the king remembered that Mordecai had saved his life a few months earlier. Instead of opposing Mordecai, the king asked Haman to get him a stunning robe and treat him as a very important person. About this time, Esther explained Haman's wicked plans to the king. The king was furious and put plans in place to help the Jewish people. Esther hadn't given up hope. She'd been brave, and because of this, the Jewish people were safe. And you know something? The story of Esther is now celebrated by Jewish people in a special festival called Purim. So, Esther, the young king, didn't always have an easy life, but she always had hope. She wanted what was best for the people around her, and she made good and brave decisions. So what lessons do you think we can learn from the story of Esther? Remember, Esther didn't let a hard start in life put her off. Well, neither should we. Wherever we start from, we can all bring hope to others. Even when things were hard, Esther still had hope. We should aspire to do the same. We should really try hard to do the same. Esther didn't rush into things. She took time to think and reflect. She took time to work out what was happening. And she did things in God's time, praying to him and asking him, sharing her thoughts with him. So that would be a good example for us to follow, wouldn't it? So if you get a moment today, maybe to sit quietly and consider whether there's a situation that you're finding difficult at the moment. Remember what we've learnt. That Esther, when she was in difficulty, she talked to her uncle Mordecai. And we maybe know someone we can trust, that we can talk about any difficulties that we are experiencing, that we're having at the moment. And of course, we can bring our thoughts and all those things that we're concerned about to God in prayer, just like Esther did. So there you go, that's about Esther. I'm sure there's lots of things you can think about that story. Have a look in the Bible. The Bible, in the Bible about Esther, the chapter of Esther. And maybe, think about a situation. Maybe consider what you can do. Anyway, I'll leave that with you. I hope that this has helped you in your journey in the Christian value of hope, and that you will have something to think about Esther. Esther, who was brave, who brought hope to others, who did her very, very best. So, talking about prayer, shall we finish with a prayer? So, hands together, eyes closed, so that we don't get distracted. And I shall just say a prayer. Dear God, thank you for Esther's story of hope. Thank you, you're always with us in every situation. Please help us to share our worries with someone we can trust when we're finding things difficult. Please help us to realise the importance of talking. Please help us to be good listeners. Amen. Amen, boys and girls. Don't forget, Jesus loves you. And I think you're great. Keep on trying hard, boys and girls. I know it's difficult. This is a situation where we really do need hope. Hope that things will change soon and we can get back to being at school and doing all the things we like to do. Take care, everybody. Keep safe. Bye for now. Bye.